members of the OG Army. Get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton.
Good afternoon, and welcome to yet another edition of OtherGround Live. I'm Passive J. That's Big Dalton over there. Say hello, Ryan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is June the 14th. It is a Sunday. We have a guest, which means I don't have to talk today. How's it going, Jay?
You're still going to have to talk. I'm very happy to announce the return of the Southpaw Outlaw. It's our good friend, Serena DeJesus. How you doing, Serena?
I'm doing all right. I'm enjoying my Sunday. About to get a nap after this and, get ready for the week ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time to do the show. I know you have a pretty busy schedule. So how have you been? What's new?
I've been doing all right. I mean, I've been, with all this craziness going on, I've been working on my own stuff, prepping for my next fight. And I'm also working a lot with my friend Roxanne Modafferi, who has her fight coming up next week here in Vegas against Lauren Murphy. So we've been working together a lot on that. And even tomorrow morning, I'm going to be going in there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, helping her out with some grappling.
I imagine you have to be very happy about the gym finally reopening.
Oh, I'm happy. I mean, it's not like when the gym was closed, I stopped training. I mean, I was out in the park working with my Muay Thai coach, Marvin the Beastman Eastman, for all of you old heads in MMA who know that. And I've been also working with my strength and conditioning coach, Lorenzo Pavlica, in his backyard. I mean, I'm outside so much. I actually look Puerto Rican now because of how tan I've gotten.
Yeah, I've been following on your Twitter and stuff, your training. Do you think but obviously it can't be as effective as being in the gym. But on the other hand, no one else has had their gym available until recently. So I guess it's still a fairly even playing field.
Yeah, it's something that you just kind of had to adapt and do. Like, it sucked not being able to hit my friends in the face. But now that I'm back in there, I mean, I get to use and apply all the new skill sets I've learned under Marvin, and it's paying off. I mean, everybody in the gym was like, "Damn, Serena, your game got 75 to 90% better." I'm like, "Oh shit, okay."
Well, that is a pretty good resource to be able to tap into. You're not going to find a much better person to show you that kind of stuff, I would imagine.
Oh, 100%. Like the things that Marv teaches, like you see the payoffs, like with Julian Marquez, for example, who's another who works with Marv here and again. Like, he went from not being able to throw a kick, then you see his kick on the Dana White Contender Series, where he just almost kicks this dude's head in the fucking stands. And a lot of that has to work with Marv, because just how Marvin breaks things down is my learning style. And honestly, I love this dude to death. He's like a big, awesome uncle to me. So my last Invicta fight, I needed another cornerman besides Roxanne, and I didn't know who I could get. And I've been in Marvin's classes before. They're great, but I didn't think we had that much of a bond. But on 3 weeks' notice, he stepped up and we worked together. And then he came out to Kansas City to corner me. And I went from my normal striking style, just unleashing elbows, unleashing knees, and doing all sorts of stuff. So it's made a huge change in my game plan. I'm really grateful to him all the way around.
And it's always nice when all your hard work pays off and you can tell the difference. It's pretty motivating, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. I just can't wait for I know that Invicta has a card in September. I'm looking forward to that. I'm just hoping that the regulations that Invicta's put forth are going to be a little less restrictive. Here's to hoping, fingers crossed, because right now what Invicta is doing is they are allowing only one corner man to come out. And yes, they're doing the testing, but things like cutting weight is going to be extremely difficult, because I remember before this thing got really real in March, I was out trying to get my supplies. I'm trying to get my prepackaged hard-boiled eggs, trying to get my coconut water. They're all sold the fuck out. I'm like, really? Y'all were so ass lazy you couldn't just get the regular eggs and just boil them yourselves? And just imagine now the weight that certain gyms are still closed, so some of the fighters can't use saunas for weight cutting, and now people are going to be stuck in those tiny bathtubs in the hotel. I'm not going to put one corner man with me cutting weight. I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit of a bitch when I'm cutting weight. I mean, I'm hungry. I haven't had anything to drink for a day. You know, that's how it is. So I'm not going to do that. And especially if they put it on short notice, they feel like July 2nd. I'm like, oh, come on. Now, if they put it July 31st or something, I would have been ready to go.
Right. Yeah, and it's surprising. Me and Dalton have talked about it quite a few times with the UFC cards. How you're seeing the same people fight like 3 or 4 weeks later because they're having so much trouble finding people to willing to actually fight with these, kind of fucked up fight camps that they have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess my
But
question to you is
kind of how it is.
Yeah, like if Invicta had a card, had a emergency card next week and asked you if you wanted to fight, would you be able to do it?
Sure, but it wouldn't be at bantamweight. I mean, I'm not fat. I've actually been staying in relatively good shape, just building more muscle. So because I've been building more muscle, I'm a bit more dense, not just in the head either, but but I mean, I think this is actually the most opportune time for a lot of fighters to test the water in a weight class above them just to see what it's like and not die fucking cutting weight. I'm honestly really tired of all of us looking like dehydrated SpongeBob SquarePants as being on the scale. For example, let's look at Jessica I at her weigh-ins on Friday. That wasn't great. That really wasn't. And
No, and
it was just like when she was saying I can't stand up, it's like, how are we letting that happen? But it happened, and we saw what happened, so there it is.
So do you believe she was only a quarter pound over? With all the stories out there about her being 3 to 4 pounds over?
Maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, she was a quarter pound over. I mean, they brought up the hoop of shame, and that's what it was. But it wouldn't surprise me that they were expecting her to be off that much, and then she cut it. It's still kind of unsafe to do. Like, we all have our walking weights we have to stay at. Like, I try to stay at 155 so I can cut it to 135 safer, while there's some girls in my division right now, they are not at that weight. Some of them even publicly have said, oh, I'm like at least 170s. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to shame anybody. I mean, I understand how it is, but it's still fucking bewildering to my ass.
Well, and it was 2 fights in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
oh my God, this one person's making me crack up. That fight was more boring than dinner with the Trudeaus. I mean, I'm not Canadian. I wouldn't know, but I can imagine that. So that actually cracks me up.
Now, do you think there's anything to the theory that she grabbed hold of the towel to try to remove weight?
Oh, there always is that. But from my angle, when I was seeing it, I couldn't see it. But like, we've had some weird instances with weigh-ins going weird. Like, let's look at Macy Barber when she weighed in against Roxanne Modafferi.
Mm-hmm.
The video was like, if the little thing was tilted up, or what she was like not making weight, or if it's tilted down or in the middle or something like that. I forget how that particular scale worked. But you see she wasn't dead on the middle of the scale, and then she looked surprised when she made the weight. So I'm like,
Yep, I know exactly
this
what
is
you're
weird.
About.
But
yeah,
but it doesn't matter because we're
say
going to beat that ass anyway, so it's fine.
And didn't I think a couple people pointed out like she had her elbow resting on someone at one point, or it might have been the angle. And you are right. I saw a couple memes about pointing out that the scale was not even. It was like it showed that she was still a little hot, a little over. Not so much that it bottomed out or topped out the scale, because like you, I can't remember which way it goes. But it was definitely not even.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, I'm not going to shit on another fighter really per se like that without knowing everything in detail, but at the end of the day, this responsibility falls on the Nevada State Athletic Commission to do the weighing regulations right. But if you look at Nevada State Athletic Commission law, they also kind of have this clause within their rule set. It's like, we'll ignore this rule anyways. Like, for example, one of the rules in their book, shout out to Eric from Combat Sports Law, who is one of my sponsors, and as you can imagine, this is his neck of the woods, knowing the laws regarding combat sports, where Nevada has these things like they'll pull a fighter if they're not healthy or they don't meet the requirements. But yet, with Jessica I saying, I don't think I can stand much longer, if that's not a red flag of a fighter not being healthy, I mean, I don't know what it is. But like I said, this shit's gonna happen no matter what. And I'm just kind of pessimistic about any positive change.
I mean, they also let Kevin Lee walk out there with like apparent staph right on his chest
the
that
staph
everyone
infection.
could watch.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, they don't exactly do
so
their
nasty.
job.
It's like, dude, I mean, I had ringworm happen to me like a week before my fight, but I'm not a little bitch, so I actually took bleach on a cotton ball and I held it on there until it burned off and bled to death, basically. So when the doctors asked me in my fight, like, why do I have this mark on my forearm? I'm like, oh, I just cooked bacon and the grease came and got me. And they're like, oh, okay. It's just like, it's not, I mean, for me, it's a matter of integrity. I mean, not everybody's going to carry themselves like me, but like, if I have something that can be infectious to somebody, I'm not going to do it. Even if it's my opponent, I'm not going to just walk in there and give them ringworm because that's just kind of bullshit. That's a gift you don't want to keep on giving.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, like you said, it's a matter of respect thing. It's one thing to want to beat your opponent. It's another thing you want to infect them.
Yeah. I mean, ringworm isn't, the end all be all. Like, it's not a dangerous skin condition, but it's a very, contagious pain in the ass. Like, I hate it. Like, I've never had it before until I started, like, having drier skin being out here in the desert. Then I had to, like, take some steps. Like, okay, moisturize a bit more, and then we're all good to go.
Right, that's right, because you're originally from Philly, I believe, correct?
Yes. I miss
Yes.
it.
Is Vegas that much different than Philly?
Oh, 100%. Like, it's not as connected because in Philadelphia, we have, regional rail, we have subways, we got buses that are like every 15 minutes. Out here with the RTC or the Regional Transportation Center, whatever they call it, the buses are like every 30 minutes on a weekday. On a weekend, you miss a bus, you're waiting outside for an hour. And that's all they have so far are buses. Yeah, Vegas is all right. I like it. It's a little smaller. I just still miss all the stuff to do in Philadelphia. That's all.
Right. Because, once you run out of touristy things to do in Las Vegas, you're pretty much done, I guess.
Oh, there's touristy stuff in Philadelphia, too. Like, I would love walking. Every time I walk past the art museum, I see people running up the stairs. I'm like, tourists. They go into Pat and Gino's. I'm like, tourists. Just scoff at them.
Yeah, see,
I was
living
one
here
of
in
those.
Detroit, you don't see a lot of people doing that. Detroit is not exactly a huge tourist destination.
I can imagine.
Ryan, you got anything you want to ask Serena while she's here?
Specifically, not really. I'm just kind of taking this conversation where it goes, Jay. So you have at it.
Well, no, I mean,
This
all I have
conversation
is
100% certified organic.
I mean, I have all the topics that we normally talk about here, but it seems like a waste when we have Serena here to talk about the stupid COVID stuff or the protests. Well, I mean, I don't know, Serena, you want to talk about some of the current events of today?
Oh, Jesus. It's just
I know.
too
That's
much.
kind of how I feel about it.
People are going crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
we have people here in Vegas like trying to set up Molotov cocktails and shit with the Boogaloo Boys. We got fucking fist fights happening on the street. I mean, this shit is wild. I just don't want no part of it. I mean, I appreciate, I'm cool with people peacefully protesting and shit and making their voices heard, but I'm not about to be out there catching that Rona. There's plenty of other advocacy works I could do from the way I do it best.
Right,
Okay,
exactly.
Slydog asked me a good question. Yes, I'm single. And being a female fighter on the dating scene is very weird. First off, never go on Snapchat as a fighter because that shit is like Olympic Village. I fucking hated it and I uninstalled it just for that reason. Second off, it's really weird because it's almost cliche for a male fighter to have a wife or a girlfriend doting on them and wishing them the best and supporting them. But the roles are different when it's a guy, dating a female fighter. Unless the guy is actively within something like boxing or wrestling or even any other high contact sports that require a lot of discipline and time, such as football, then it's weird. Like, I once had a guy, like, this is a decade ago. This is how far back, this is just how horrible dating was for me. And long story short, he was intimidated by how I trained and what I could do. And he tried to make me drop my training. It's like, oh, you spend all your time training. And I'm like, Yeah, meanwhile, I'm the one who takes the train to see you while your mommy and daddy pay for your car, your insurance, and your fancy college. Pardon me. And it just got to the point where I'm like, all right, I'll drop all my training and spend extra time with you, even though I take at least 2 days out of my entire week to see you. And he's like, oh, really? You're the best girlfriend ever. And then there's me. I was like, bitch, that was a test and you failed. Bye. And I just left him right there, walked out the door. I was not playing with that shit. And I guess it's weird for a guy, like, I wish I did. He kind of deserved it, Dragunov. But it's just weird. It's just like, I'm very big and supportive and loving. I'm sensitive as shit. Like, I'd rather have my labrum torn again than to have my heart broken. Dead serious. But it's just like, because it's the women fighting, like, I guess guys feel emasculated, like, hey, I bet your girlfriend could kick your ass or some shit. I'm like, what does that matter? Here's my opinion. I should not be nor any woman should be laying hands on a man unless my life is in danger or it's a male sparring partner. And that's the end of the day. Like, I hate when women do these whole call outs about, like, Kayla Harrison saying, oh, I could beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. Why would you want to do that? Because here's the thing. Like, if the guy wins, everyone's like, oh, you're a little bitch. You beat a girl. Fuck you. But, like, if a girl wins, then the guy gets like shit on, like, hey, you got beat by a girl. It's like a lose-lose for a dude. So I'm just like, why would you fucking do it?
Right? Why put it in a position like that? And I don't understand how some guys are like that. One of my fondest memories was a couple years ago when I hung out with you, Roxy, and Ariel and we were walking around and stuff, and I was just waiting for a motherfucker to start something. I go, this will be the funniest fucking fight ever. I won't have to lift a finger. These girls will wipe them the fuck out. So I spent the entire.
That's the best thing.
Yeah. I wanted to start challenging other tables at dinner, like, hey, you suck. Come over here and do something about it.
Now, the best thing is because Roxy looks so unassuming, and I, for the most part, look unassuming. Don't think we're like a bunch of fucking nerds reading our comic books and shit. Then the hoodie comes off for me, and then they see how well defined I am, and they're like, ah, shit.
Yeah, Roxy's not looking that unassuming lately, huh?
I know. I'm so proud of her. She's been getting lean and toned. But Lorenzo's done wonders for her. Like, I'm getting more built as fuck, hence the hashtag big Reen energy that I put on. It's for real, because when even last weekend, if you look at us side by side, like, Roxy's jacked, but I'm just like, I got them gains.
Yeah.
But that's the difference between bantamweights and flyweights,
Right. You started off ahead of her as well, so so you had a jump start, so to speak. Yeah, but she's made leaps and bounds in improvement. She's I actually feel a little bit sorry for Lauren. I have no clue how she's going to possibly win that fight now. The one avenue people used to have.
Lauren's a good specimen.
Yeah.
Lauren's smart, and she's also a physical specimen of her own. Like, I fucking hate that they have to fight each other, because I'm cool with Lauren. Like, everybody shits on Lauren for stuff, but I'll tell you what, out of the goodness of her heart, she sent me a t-shirt because she knows I'm a big fucking fan of Godzilla, right? And it was Godzilla in a gi with the caption Guardzilla, and she sent that to me. Oh, and sweet. When I was getting ready for my last Invicta fight, she knew one of the girls that was fighting, and she was telling me how to beat her and what to do and how she was rooting for me. And so, yeah, Lauren, I think she gets unnecessary hate, especially for her time on the show when she switched teams, because I also relate to that. I remember leaving my first gym because my coach was kind of being a little much, and we just couldn't get along. And I'm just like, okay, I got to bow out of this. And when I did, I had a phone call with him. I talked about it, and it seemed all cool, only to find out, like, a day later, like, he made this bullshit ass chapter of a book post basically trashing me for no reason. And the only reason I knew about it is because a teammate screenshotted me. The guy blocked me from seeing it. If that's not a pussy ass bitch move, I don't know what else is. And it's very ironic because he always touted how manly he was. And then he up and pulled that on me, on a 20-year-old. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. So when I can understand if Lauren wanted to leave an environment that she didn't feel was great for her and go somewhere else. But everybody was just shitting on her for that. And then that bullshit article that one of the writers at MMA Junkie, I think it was MMA Junkie, did, where they made it look like Lauren said that Eddie Alvarez hates women, which was not what she said. And then the guy came and apologized with it. But like, still the damage was done, and it put Lorna in the defensive for a while until all that came out. It's just, she's got some shit luck when it comes to that.
Yeah, and people should know by now, The Ultimate Fighter is not a really accurate portrayal of who people are. There's so much editing involved to tell the story that the producers want to tell as opposed to the reality sometimes. But most people don't think about that. What they see on TV is what they think is true.
Yeah, basically. But then again, let's look at the collective IQ of MMA Twitter and MMA media sometimes. It's almost like the collective IQ of a fucking potato. You know, I mean, there are exceptions to the rules, but let's just be real here for a second. Like, for example, I got some shit yesterday because I was fucking happy that Marvin Vitorelli, I forget his last name, won his fight, and it was fucking awesome. I think he is a really good fighter. But then he just ruined the post-high of me seeing him whoop some ass when he's like, oh, I'm just really fucking autistic when I try my, wait, whoa, what? And that kind of irked me. I'm just like, he could have said any other way to describe his amazing work ethic, but he veered to that word for that thing. He could have just called himself a warrior monk, which I honestly think he was because of how dedicated he was. Because I, too, have had 5 back-to-back opponents fall out. But I think the worst thing that fell out of my mouth was I called the girls who dropped a pussy. And because we're women, I mean, that's okay, I guess, because we have pussies. If we didn't, we'd be asking some questions, you know? So I was just, everyone's like, but there's some people who are like, oh, you're trying to get him canceled. I'm just like, no, I'm not trying to get him canceled. I'm just saying he put his fucking foot in his mouth, and he should just watch out for that social faux pas again, just not do it. That's all.
Yeah, it's possible to call out somebody's attitude without trying to get them fired from their job. You know, it's perfectly acceptable.
I want to see him succeed.
Well, and especially in a situation like that.
I'm just saying, it's not your word. Yeah.
Right.
If you ain't autistic, it just ain't your word. I'm 7% black, and I don't say the N-word. Meanwhile, Mike Perry is just 2% black and says the N-word all the time. So I'm just like, okay. It's like, if it's not your word, it's just not your fucking word. You know, you should know better.
What were you going to say, Ryan?
I was just going to say, especially in a situation like that, you can't be overly hard on a guy, being that he's still out there with like all the hormones rushing and just had the adrenaline dump of having a fight that he's been looking forward to for God knows how long. But yeah, there's also nothing wrong with correcting someone, which is what I see that being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It wasn't me saying, oh, he's a piece of shit. Oh, fuck this guy. Or he deserves to be canceled. No, I'm not into that cancel bullshit. I'm just saying, hey, man, time out. Let's just not do that again. That's all.
Right. And as far as Mike Perry being 2% black so he can use the N-word, like he thinks he can. Really, if you're only 2% black, you can use like the half the N, just the first letter. You don't get the whole word. You get 2% of the word. So you can go, that's what he gets.
So the other percentages are, because I actually did my DNA test, mostly because I want to do this Geno palette thing for my dieting and stuff. But the other parts of me are Baltics, are Scottish, Irish, indigenous Puerto Rico, because I'm half Puerto Rican, go figure, Central American, and Southern American. So that's... Baltics, but yeah. So I'm basically a giant, mud all over the place. So, but, we're not surprised about my half of my genetics coming from Central America and in Puerto Rico. And we're not, and on my mom's side, because my mom is white, we're not surprised about the Baltics and the Irish and the Scottish. So not surprised.
Right. But still good to know for sure. Like, I'd be interested in that. I'll never know.
100%.
I mean, I could take a genetics test and I'd be interested in it because my dad was adopted. My last name is Italian, but I am not Italian. His Italian adopted dad, adopted him. And so he took his name. I have no clue what the hell he was. It's easier.
Yeah. I mean, it's neat. It's neat to see, but that wasn't really my main reason why I did the DNA testing. It's because this whole thing, Geno palette, it tests what your genetics are and what foods and diets are best for you based off of your own genetics. So it's not some bullshit like, here's this bullshit diet for you to follow. It's like, no, these are the specific foods and specific types you need to eat for your fitness goals. So I was all into it because I remember seeing Macy Chiasson, who was originally a featherweight in the UFC, and she's dropped down to bantamweight, but she's gotten absolutely shredded. And she personally, her and a few other people said it was because of the Genopad. I'm like, shit, I want to get shredded more too. I want to scare the shit out of some girls. Let's go.
That's pretty cool. I have diet issues myself all the time, so that's actually be something I'd be interested in checking out. Where'd you hear of that? Oh, you just told me.
Like I said, yeah. I'm friends with people who are teammates. It's okay. I got friends who are teammates with Macy Chiasson. They were saying how well it worked for her. I'm like, these guys can't be wrong. So I'll just give it a shot. I mean, since I already had my DNA test thing done, it just only cost me about like $39 just to upload my data and just see what they find out. And I'm excited to see what kind of dieting I got to do, so I don't have to hopefully not starve myself anymore when it's time to cut that weight.
I mean, yeah. See, it just amazes me that you guys do that on a regular basis. I had to do a colonostomy a couple weeks ago, and because of that, which the actual thing wasn't that big deal. It's the prep for it that sucks. You go through an entire day where you can't eat any real food, and all you can do is drink liquids. And then you get the test done the next day, and you can't eat anything that day at all until after the test is done. And it was like some of the most miserable 36 hours I've ever went through. And then I started thinking about how you guys as fighters basically do the same thing for like a fucking week, basically. I mean, you guys get a little bit, but it's extreme. It's pretty extreme. And I would never be able to do that. I would just tap out. That's what would get me on fighting. Besides to get the punch in the face thing, but some of the things you guys have to do to maintain and cut your weight, it's crazy. It's like watching insane people do stuff. To be honest with you.
So for fight week, I'm going to give a basic rundown of what I do. So by the time fight week rolls around, I cannot have any fucking salt in any of my foods. So me and Mrs. Dash become best friends. So what I do is I make these turkey meatballs with spinach and quinoa on it for sustenance. And I eat one of those little ass meatballs every hour because I can only have 3 to 4 ounces of food every hour to keep my metabolism burning, to keep my weight loss going. So a day or two before the weigh-ins, the actual weigh-ins happens, the night before, I'm sweating out about 5 pounds. At this point, I've been without food for about 24 hours, or 12 hours rather, and then water is like not happening. So by the time, then I wake up at like 6 a.m., and then I have to go in this Epsom salt bath. So it's a hot-ass Epsom salt bath. So for me with my sensory issues, with rapid spikes in temperature or rapid drops, it hurts. It's just how my touch sensitivity is. And I'm literally feeling like the Terminator, thumbs up, going like dun, 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 as I'm sinking in the Epsom salt bath, starving, boiling alive like a fucking lobster, just sweating, trying to sweat these extra 5 pounds off so I can make weight, which is why I fucking hate weight cutting, Man,
I didn't realize. I've seen people do the Epsom salts before. I didn't realize it was a hot bath like that.
Oh, yeah, because the salt prevents the water being reabsorbed into your body. So you submerge yourself up to your neck, and then you just sweat it all out. So 30 minutes in that tub, you get out. You have your crew wrap you up like a burrito in towels and blankets to make sure you keep sweating while you're at the tub. And then rinse and repeat, basically, until you've made the weight. And then you just deliriously make yourself go downstairs when it's time to weigh in, then just pound the Pedialyte and your fruits and vegetables and try and get back to life. It's horrific. So that's why I also get very, pissy when people don't make the weight. It's like if my ass can make it with my sensory issues, there's literally no excuse for NTs to not make the weight. Okay, my only exception though is if they're a short notice fighter. If they came in short notice, I will give them a pass because they got the balls to step up.
Right. That's a completely different situation. Obviously, there's only so much you can do when you don't have enough time to do it properly. And it's funny. My first encounter with weight cutting issues was watching season 5 of The Ultimate Fighter with Gabe Rudiger. And I kind of felt bad later on because it turns out he's actually a pretty cool dude, but that painted him in a pretty bad light.
Yeah, but he was also a goddamn drama queen.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm a little bit of a bitch myself when it comes to cutting weight, but I'm not that horrible.
You're also not eating cake the day before you have to make weight.
Yeah.
No, I'm not that dumb. Thankfully, I mean, I'm getting close. I don't know if I have too many brain cells to spare, but I'm not that dumb.
Did you see when Gabe Rudiger fought Joe Lazan, and I think Gabe brought a cake to give to Lazan because he had been making jokes about calling him Cake Rudiger. That was a sad
I saw that. That was. Oh man, now I'm stepping back in history. Like I just had to teach my 16-year-old brother about the joys of Pride Fighting Championship because there's this fighting anime I've been watching, and the entrances, the fighting, and everything is pretty based off of how Pride was. So I feel like I need my pacifier or some shit again watching Pride. Like I'm seeing a young Dan Henderson. I'm seeing Kevin Randleman still alive and shit. I'm seeing a young Crow Cop who is forever my fucking idol. And I'm just like, damn, I'm not having to teach my brother about this.
Yeah, and I came into that too late to catch the Pride stuff, except for on reruns and stuff. Season 5 was actually my introduction to MMA in general. I knew about it and seen one or two fights, but I wasn't really that familiar with it. And I was just clicking through the channels one day and caught the season premiere of Season 5 of The Ultimate Fighter. I was like, Season 5? There's stuff before this? And started watching it, and I was just really entertained by all of it. That was the season of Nate and Gabe and Joe Lazan and Corey Hill. There's so many fun fighters to watch, and I really enjoyed getting to know the fighters because it made it a lot more fun to watch the fights. You might be rooting for them, you might be rooting against them, but once you get to know them as a person, you're interested in their fights quite a bit more. Or at least in my case.
I'm about to style on you so fucking hard right now. Now, because I loved my anime and I loved my fighting games like Tekken when I was 5 years old. My dad always rented UFC tapes in the store. My first fight was actually watching Gary Goodridge and Paul Herrera. It was the transition to the crucifix that reminded me of my favorite Tekken character, King. The grappling transition. I'm like, whoa, this is so fucking cool. And I kept watching mixed martial arts from there. So, like I said, it's been a big part of my life, and I've always watched it whenever I could. Be it tapes, be it finding on the internet, on the DL, shit on like some shitty streams or something. Like that's been my life.
Yeah, and it's the only sport I've ever been interested in. I could care less about football or basketball or baseball or any of that stuff because it's just a game. MMA and the UFC and all that stuff is actual real world skills being applied. You being able to throw a football really far is never going to get you anywhere outside of playing football. But being able to beat someone up is a real world skill that's applicable outside of the sport.
Oh yeah, Jay. Well, what about curling? Huh? Yeah, you ever had to sweep a floor? Yeah, what's up now?
I stand corrected. But
I never had to sweep the floor and have a disc slide around it, so that's still kind of not it, buddy.
Yeah, it's not a good analogy.
I mean, unless I'm doing it with my Roomba or some shit. I mean, other than that, I mean, there's really no real world application for that too. And I'm a big believer in fighting being a real world application. In fact, this is going to be controversial. I wish we could bring back real, like if you got a problem with somebody, like a legal fight, like a police or somebody acting as a referee in the middle. You all beat the shit out of each other after a disagreement, shake hands, and be cool with it. But yeah, fighting is a real life sport. Like I run autistic self-defense seminars for autistic kids and adults because the average age of death for autistics, guess what it is, guys?
Oh God, I'd be afraid to guess.
Take a guess.
I couldn't even guess, like 50 or 60 or something.
Lower. Try 38.
Really? Wow.
Now, for people like myself who are considered low needs, meaning right now my stuff is mostly physiological, like light, noise, and touch sensitivity are my biggest things. But for artists who wander or other things like that, their life expectancy is low, not because of just wandering and accidents, but normally our caretakers will kill their autistic their autistic children.
Oh,
Either like,
Jesus.
for example, there was a case about that in Florida about a few weeks ago where a woman lied and said that she was robbed, she was carjacked at gunpoint and they took her autistic kid. No, she killed her child. She drowned him in a
Oh, Jesus.
canal in Florida. Yeah, and said he was in a better place. Like those kind of things and those kind of attitudes, and are very big on why our life expectancy is so low. And for the low needs people like ourselves, we're overworked having to have one foot in the autistic world and the other foot in the normal world. So people, and try and suppress our STEM so people don't look at us. They kill themselves. They will kill themselves. Like, I'm not going to kill myself. If if I'm dead, that means I got suicided by Hillary or some shit by that. But I'm not going anywhere. But that's the common reality. And if I can give them some self-defense skills to protect themselves from people trying to kill them, then you know what? I can sleep better at night. And that's what I like to do.
Yeah, it's always good to give back to the community. I don't do any of that because I'm lazy and self-absorbed. But it doesn't surprise me in the least bit that you do that. Ever since I've met you, you've always been such a super nice, awesome person. And it was surprising. Actually, I myself have trouble meeting people. Obviously, I do well speaking when I can't see a person, but face-to-face conversations and things like that make me really uncomfortable. And the entire time that I was planning out the trip to go visit you guys the first time, I wasn't sure if I could do it. Meeting new people, especially people that were, you guys, because basically you guys were celebrities to me when we first started talking to you. So it was it was very stressful for me. And if you and Roxy had not been such awesome people, I don't think I could have done it. I don't think I would have went. I would have said, thanks, I have to cancel. But obviously after meeting you and Roxy as well, you guys were able to put me at ease, and now I can go visit you whenever I want and not feel weird about it. Is
Awesome.
is autism like that in certain cases? I mean, I know it's different for a lot of people. Have you ever had any issues meeting new people and making it uncomfortable?
Oh, I still do. Like, I still have problems, like, going out and about. Like, I had a guy ask me out for lunch. Fingers crossed, this is going to be something cool. But yeah, it's hard for me to meet people. Like, I'm very much a homebody because, like, here's the thing with the gym and training, I always have that guarantee that any drama or unneeded bullshit will filter itself out the doors. I don't have that guarantee in the real world. People are
Right.
shady and it's hard to guess their intentions. So I'm really, really reserved with who they are. Anyways, also to answer somebody's question, if you want to donate to an autistic organization, I would highly recommend either Fighting for Autism, which is what I'm an ambassador to, or the Autism Self-Advocacy Network. So if you guys want to do that, that's where you can go donate and do stuff like that. But yeah, for me, social skills, I have them, but I'm just a social anxiety wreck with it. Like, if you met me at 13, though, when I was first diagnosed with autism, it would have been night and day. You probably wouldn't have recognized me from how I acted, how I would stim and all that. I had a case manager who, alongside with my family, would help me kind of learn how to people, in society. And I had her until I was 20 years old, where I met all my social goals and stuff. So I'm 28. So I've been without a case manager who was basically a Jiminy Cricket on my shoulder for 8 years. But in those 8 years, I've made such magnificent strides and gains. And honestly, I do accredit that to mixed martial arts because it gives you a sense of community. It makes it feel like you're not always, you're not all alone. And here's the thing, I can be focused on a task and not have people look at me funny for it. Because guess what? Everybody in the gym are hyper-focused on the same damn task.
Yeah, I can see that. That would be a great comfort to basically you're with a group of people that are all striving for the same goal that you are. It would make a pretty good sense of community, I imagine.
And I love it. Even if there's a few dickheads and stuff in there, but we all know there's dickheads and idiots in every profession we all get into,
Yeah. Now, for every UFC event that that comes up, we often do fight picks for it and discuss the fights. You want to do that? You want to look at the next event and
let's
get
do
your fight
it.
picks for it? All right. Well, I'm going. Ryan, you normally are the one who goes over the fight card stuff. You want to do that?
You sure you don't want to try to say these names?
Probably not.
All right, let me go ahead and pull it up.
Pass. All right, yeah. Apparently, I'm not so good at pronouncing names as I thought I was. Actually, I knew I was shitty at it, and apparently, it's so bad that they don't even want me to do it anymore. Ryan does it now.
Well, no, it's entertaining when you
Dad,
try.
Look, if you were able to pronounce my last name, I have some faith in you. So come on, for the gram, for the social media, let's do it. Come on.
Okay, well, I'll try, but it's not going to last long. I'm going to pass it out. Okay, well, you'll see. Let's see how bad it is. Okay, the bottom of the card. I don't know if this fight is in order as far as it goes. We always go from the preliminaries on up. Is our friend Roxy versus Lauren Murphy? That one's obviously we all know who we're picking on that.
Absolutely.
So we won't even need to go over that. Yep. Okay, next up would be Frank Camacho versus Matt Frivola. Is that how you say that?
Frivola, pretty close.
No, that's not.
Yeah, that's right. You did it! Hooray!
Okay.
I'm going with Camacho with him. I'm going to go with him.
He's got an interesting nickname.
He's the what? The crank? Yeah. I know. Isn't it great? I appreciate it.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan? Who you got on that one?
Yeah, I'll go Frivola.
All right, I'm going to go with the crank as well, just because I like his nickname. All right, next up would be Jillian Robertson versus Courtney Casey.
Ooh, that's a good one, but I'm going to go with Casey here.
Yeah, I am as well. Her last fight was pretty impressive, actually. How about you, Ryan?
That's exactly why.
She's coming off a win not too long ago. God, that was what, like 3 weeks ago? So, yeah. She should be able to follow that up.
All right. Next up, oh Jesus, Marc-Andre
Barriault?
Power Bar! It's Power Bar! You know, I'm going with my homie.
Oh, you know this
Power Bar. Oh yeah, him and his girlfriend come to Syndicate a lot, and his girlfriend's really nice to me too. So they're cool. I like those guys.
All right. He's fighting Oscar Pichota. I think I might have said that one right.
I think that's I think you said it right too.
All right. Who you got, Ryan?
I don't really know either fighter, so I guess I'll go Barriault.
Yep, I'm going to go with Power Bar as well. Okay, damn it. Why can't I say this lady's name? I'm actually a fan of her. It's Torres.
Torres?
Tisha? Yeah.
Tisha?
Torres, yeah. Tisha, thank you. It doesn't look like it should be Tisha. Tisha Torres versus Brianna Von Buren. Who do you got there, Serena?
Oh man, that's gonna be good because I was there live when Brianna Van Buren won the 115 Invicta Rising tournament, or Phoenix Rising tournament for Invicta, and she just was a little monster when I just took over everybody and just smothered them to death. But Tisha Torres lives up to her nickname of the Tiny Tornado. She is a monster. So this is a definite grappling versus striking kind of fight, but I'm gonna lean toward Torres for this one. But I do respect the fuck out of Van Buren.
This is a hard one for me because I like Torres, but looking at the this little record thing, she's lost her last 4 in a row. Oh wow! Which surprises the hell out of me. Yeah, because I like her. I always thought she was funny on the episode of Ultimate Fighter, on the season of Ultimate Fighter that she was on. So, but I'm gonna go with her as well. I think she's gonna turn it around. How about you, Big Dalton?
Yeah, I'll go Torres. You're talking about how she has 4 losses in a row. 3 of those were against champions.
Oh yeah, you're right. Look at it. Yeah.
So it's not like she was, out there losing to bums. Not that anyone necessarily is a bum at this level, but yeah, there's still levels within that. I'll go Torres.
All righty. Next up, one of my favorite fighters, Clay Guida, is fighting versus Bobby Green.
Oh shit, my older, male clone? What? No lie. There's actually I actually saw him in the last UFC Expo they had here in Las Vegas in 2014, and we were both wearing hats, and my hair is curly, and I saw him with his curly hair, and we took a picture. It was like all you can hear is Mike Goldberg in the background, like, virtually identical. Oh, and by the way, your Spanish clone in the comment section is cracking me the fuck up. So just thought I'd point that out.
I was looking at the fights as opposed to the chat box. So I also I don't speak Spanish. So so I guess I should probably go back.
That sucks.
Who do you got for the fight? Clay or Bobby Green, who's actually got some experience as well?
I can't root against Clay. I have to stay with him. He's a OG, man. I can't look. Asking me to root against him is almost blasphemy.
Yeah, I'm going to pick him as well. But man, he's been fighting forever.
Well, Bobby Green's been around quite a while too.
Little.
Yeah. Bobby Green. Although I haven't heard of him in quite a while. Looking at his record, loss in November 2019.
Well, yeah, he's 1-5-1 in his last 7, so it's not super encouraging there.
He's no slouch.
Yeah.
So yeah,
who you got, Dalton?
Yeah, just based on that, probably Guida. He's shown more recently than Green.
Right. All right. Next up, Jim Miller. Oh wow. That's one of those fighters where I love to watch him fight, but I kind of wish he would retire, because I like him that much. I think I'd like to see him like move on to not getting hit in the face eventually. Versus Roosevelt Roberts.
I don't think I've heard of Roosevelt Roberts, and that's on me. But I'm gonna stick with Miller because, like I said, I always like to root for the guys who've been in there like for the longest, because there's something satisfying about seeing the old lions still being able to hang in there.
Yeah, I can agree with that. That's who I'm going with too. How about you, Ryan?
I'm 100% behind Roosevelt Roberts. He's the guy that choked out that fucking dog abusing piece of shit Brock Weaver like 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
Hey.
Okay, I kind of want to change my vote. I didn't realize that was the same dude. Yeah, he was pretty good, dude. He took it to that dude.
Yeah, so he's got my vote
now that
going
I know that's
forward.
him. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you too.
I'm still with Miller, but I like that other. No, I'm not changing my vote, but I still respect the fuck out of that guy.
Right. Next up, Lyman Good versus Bilal Muhammad. Is that how you say it?
It's actually pretty goddamn close, Jack. Good job.
Hey. Well, mostly because he's got the stupidest nickname ever. His nickname is Remember the Name.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, he's no coconut bombs.
Yeah, that's the best MMA nickname ever. On the other hand, Lyman
I know. I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. On the other hand, Lyman Good's nickname is Cyborg, which makes him like the 8th cyborg fighting in MMA. So neither of them have cool nicknames. I'm going to go with Muhammad, actually. I think he's got more heat going behind him.
Me too, and he's got more experience.
Yeah. And how about you, Big Dalton?
Yeah, same here. I got Bilal Muhammad in that one.
All right. Next up, Rachel Pennington versus
Raquel Pennington.
You mean Raquel? I'm about to say,
Raquel,
what?
Raquel
Pennington.
That one I could have got. Yeah. Versus, sorry, I was so distracted by the second name, which I'm not going to be able to pronounce. Marion Renaud.
Renaud.
Close. Yeah, you're good.
Close enough.
He's learning. Okay. We'll give him credit there.
Oh, let's see. Looking at their records, they got comparable for the last 4 fights. Both of them have. I'm gonna go with Raquel. I think. How about you, Serena?
I'll lean toward Raquel as well.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah, Pennington really only loses to champions or former champions, and Renaud is not in that category. So let's go Rocky.
All right. And in the co-main event, we've got Josh Emmett versus Shane Burgos.
I'm going with Burgos on this one.
Yeah, once again, they both have pretty similar records. Josh is 15-2, Burgos is 13-1. So basically the same record. Looking at their wins, Burgos has got a win versus Cub Swanson. That's big right there.
100%.
Yeah, and looking at
and he's just a scrappy dude, so I'm like all for it.
Yeah. I
Bring the violence.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Burgos as well. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I still can't get the image of Jeremy almost killing Josh Emmett out of my head, so I'm going to have to go Burgos.
Yeah, that was not a good fight for him. And the main event, Curtis Blades versus Alexander Volkov.
Oh, this is great. Shit, I want to go with Volkov, but Blades has been tearing through people, so I'm going to lean toward Blades for this one. But oh my god, it's going to be such a beautiful slugfest, and someone's going to drop. I'm going to love it. They're going to drop faster than a newborn giraffe, and I'm here for it all day.
Yeah, that's a hard one to pick as well. I think I'm going to go with Blades because the only person he's lost to recently is Francis. I'm going to hit you in your face and you'll die. And I can't pronounce his last name.
Ngannou?
You guys know Ngannou. Yeah. And that's the only guy he's lost to recently. So I'm going to go with Blades. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, Blades has been putting it together. Obviously, he's got a great wrestling pedigree, decent on his feet. And Volkov, cannot launch you out of the cage with an uppercut. So I'll go Blades.
Man. So, hey, Serena, what do you think
Jay,
about...
you weren't kidding about the name pronunciation issues, but go ahead.
I was not lying to you. So what do you think about the John Jones super fight with Francis that fell through? Do you think Jones ever seriously wanted that fight?
I mean, he did clean out the division. Let's be real. I mean, he did clean out 205, and heavyweight is probably his next best up. Because let's be honest, we're not seeing him drop below one, to the 185 division or anything like that. I think he wanted maybe one last hurrah at and have it at heavyweight and get like a whole fuck ton of money and leave. But when it fell through, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I felt bad for John Jones. I'm like, look at this. Imagine any of you guys listening right now. You're in a cage with Francis Ngannou for 25 minutes, and you cannot escape, and you have to finish the fight somehow, or he'll finish it for you. How much money is your life worth? So I was kind of with John Jones on that about him, whatever his price demand was, because he deserves it. And I believe Francis deserved a nice payday out of it too, because it's Francis fucking Ngannou here. Right. If he hits a fucker any harder, he's going to hit their heads in the stands like something out of Mortal Kombat.
And see, me and Ryan were talking about it, and I came up with the theory of the reason that John Jones wanted that fight is because he saw Francis's last fight, where he was obviously terrifying, but he also just walked forward winging punches. And I kind of thought John Jones saw that, went, yeah, that wouldn't be a problem for me, and decided he wanted to fight him because Francis is scary and obviously has skills, but in that case, in that last fight, he didn't really use any skills. He just walked forward swinging, and it worked out well for him.
100%.
But with someone with John Jones's skill, you can't do that. So I think John probably saw that as a fairly easy fight, all things considered. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what my theory was why he wanted to fight. It looked like a pretty winnable fight for him.
Yeah, he might have had the movement and the fight IQ for it, but it kind of reminds me of the Wilder thing. Like, you have to be lucky for 12 rounds. I just have to be lucky with one punch. And it gives me those kind of vibes with John Jones versus Francis. Like, John Jones, he hits heavy and everything, but let's be real, he's no Francis Ngannou when he hits. So all Francis has to do is land that one shot, and it would be over. But out of anybody, I think John Jones would be the one who would be able to give him the best fight.
Yeah, Ryan, you said when you and I talked about it, you basically described how John Jones would fight to win that fight. Did you want to go over that again?
Well, I think it's the same thing that anybody's going to do to beat Ngannou, and it's pretty much what Stipe did. You keep Ngannou as far away from you as possible until you can get in close.
And on the floor.
And yeah, exactly. So you're going to see Jones. He would be throwing a lot of that, that teep kick to the knee that he's so famous for, until he can get Ngannou to the cage and get him down. And then at that point, Ngannou can't hurt you. Like, that's where you make your money. I can certainly see Ngannou being the most dangerous fight at heavyweight for anyone, based on the fact that, yes, one punch and your night's over. But it's not the most unwinnable fight at heavyweight. Like, you rather would take that fight 100%. Over Stipe or DC, because they're much better overall fighters. So I think John Jones did look at it and say that's probably the biggest name with the highest chance of winning. And that's where he wants his, $20-30 million.
Yeah.
And the biggest way to get all the eyes on him to justify getting that huge payday. So I think that was well planned out.
Well, yeah, it's either that or DC. Like, those are the two biggest fights for John Jones at heavyweight. but DC has one fight left, and it's against Stipe.
Do you guys think that the fights with DC versus Jones fights would have been any different if they were at heavyweight instead of light heavyweight?
Oh, I believe it would have been, because let's look at how drained Cormier looked at light heavyweight. Like, he didn't look great, but he looks so happy and he's fluffy over at heavyweight, because people forget that's what he fought at in Strikeforce, is he was heavyweight. And it wasn't for the power's sake, it's for he had better movement. He was able to do more. He was more energized. And I think it might have played a different role, but
he's
it's
lost
one of those things I really wish I could have seen happen.
Yeah, he's lost one fight ever at heavyweight. He's lost 2 fights ever total, and the 2 people he's lost to are, basically the best ever at their division if you look at like success.
That's an interesting question. Steve, do you consider Stipe the best heavyweight ever at this point?
I mean, with the amount of title defenses he has, yeah, I would say he can have that claim for sure. And especially how he won back his belt against a really good, one of the best. I mean, can we really argue that anymore? But at the same time, I wonder because heavyweight's also been shallow lately within the UFC. Either that or they're making it look shallow. And I wonder what's going to happen. How many times is Stipe going to run through the same people over and over again?
What's the interesting thing about heavyweight is so you're never going to get the quote unquote super athletes at heavyweight in the UFC. It's like those guys, that 220, 230 pound guy that's just an absolute, killing machine as far as an athlete goes. He's going to the NFL or he's going to the NBA. Like, he's making $100 million. Whereas like in the UFC, you see like some of the greatest athletic guys at like your 135, 145, 155, because there's not really other avenues for those guys. So they actually, make it there. That's why we've always seen heavyweight not necessarily being the deepest class. And the fact where you don't see a lot of title defenses is anybody can get that one lucky shot and it'll put anyone out at that division because just how hard those bastards hit.
Yeah, that's one. I think that's one of the reasons why the some of the later classes have had pretty long title reigns before for periods, because if you can't knock that person out, it becomes just skill versus skill. And so like some of the, like, look at Jose Aldo. How long did he hold his title? People got knocked out at 145, obviously, but it's not the same thing as heavyweight in any way, shape, or form. If those guys could hit like heavyweights and knock you out with one punch, he probably wouldn't have held the title that long, because everybody gets hit occasionally.
Yeah, and then on the
100%.
athletic standpoint, like take say George St. Pierre. If George St. Pierre was 6'2", 230, he would have never sniffed MMA.
Oh, absolutely. Because here's the thing with heavyweights, that they have like maybe a good 3 minutes tops on them before they burn themselves out. Because I don't know how many people in the chat room are good at physics or remember much of physics, but I'm going to drop some shit. So an object in motion stays in motion until acted on by an outside force. Your punch or any of your strikes is that object in motion. It burns out more energy to stop your punch or your strike and pull it back to your face. It burns out more oxygen to bring your guard back up than it is to actually start winging your strikes out there. That's why, and because these guys are so huge, they're expending a lot of oxygen already, throwing these things and then having to whip them back. And that's why they get so winded after like 3 minutes, and everyone's like, this is boring now. You don't have that other problem in the lighter weight classes where you see them have absolute flurries and they still got more to go in the tank, even though they're dog shit tired.
Now, here's a question for you guys. How do you think Stipe would do during the prime time of heavyweights, when it was, Dos Santos, when it was, God, I'm drawing a blank. The guy that beat Dos Santos.
So I think I think you're talking about C-level Kane before he got all of his injuries.
Yeah, C-level Kane, Dos Santos, Brock Lesnar, and I'll throw in Shane Carwin as well because they're all fought around the same time.
Oh God, Monster Mitts Carwin, holy shit!
Yeah, do you think Stipe would have done as well back then? Because I actually think that the heavyweight division was more skilled back then and was way deeper than it was now.
I think a healthy
that was
Kane.
Also pre-USADA too, so
yeah,
that's also true. But I think a completely healthy Cain Velasquez is the most skilled heavyweight we've ever seen.
Maybe.
I could see that. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, if this is with USADA rules in place and no one can do anything, I honestly think he could handle that. He could have taken out Brock Lesnar. Carwin, maybe. I mean, and as Dragunov posted that Dos Santos did beat Stipe, so that might be a challenge. So I think he might not be the best heavyweight in the prime time of heavyweights, but I think he could hold his own against some of them in their prime.
Right. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see it happen. And of course, there are people that said that Pride had the best heavyweights, anyways. So if you throw them in the discussion, heavyweight's a weird spot. So and do you think that? Do you remember the big argument was Pride better, or UFC better? It kind of shook out that UFC was better just by attrition. But do you think back when they were both active that Pride had the better athletes and better fighters?
Pride had the better heavyweights.
But I loved it. It was like fucking Disneyland for me watching that. Like, the fights were better. You had just the whole theatrics behind like the fighters getting out. And I fucking love Len Hart. We're actually Facebook friends. We talk a lot. Wow, here and again. But she's great. I mean, just all of it was wonderful. Who can fucking forget Mirko Cro Cop versus Alexander Emelianenko, Fedor's crazy brother, so criminally insane that Fedor is like, don't let that fucker out, his own brother,
Yeah.
But all the heavyweight fights, like I think Kevin Randleman was also heavyweight in Pride as well. Like you saw all those, and you even saw cross promotion between the UFC and Pride. Like this wasn't heavyweight, but remember the Final Conflict in 2003? You had Chuck Liddell and Rampage Jackson up in this bitch. Like,
oh yeah,
from heavyweight all the way down, like all the fights in Pride, I think were better athletes or just better fights all around than in the UFC at that time.
Rampage Jackson has the distinction of having the most fights where I have said, "Oh my God, he just killed that man."
Yeah, exactly. Just like totally slamming people and shit. It was just like, oh fuck. It was great.
Yeah. I guess that's a pretty easy answer. Shit, look at the time, guys. We got to get out of here. Serena, I would like to thank you for being on the show. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. And when you get a fight scheduled, I want you back here so we can talk about it. I want to thank the OG Army.
You guys, please, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
All you guys, please bug Invicta. Tell them to put me on for the September card. Like, that'll help a lot. So if you guys have free time to do anything today or whatever, just please go bug them. Say, we want Serena Southpaw to fight in September, and I will be ready.
Yeah, hell yeah. Also want to thank the OG Army for showing up. We couldn't do the show without you. I want to thank my co-host, Ryan Big Dalton. Dalton, you got anything?
As always, I have two things. The first is OG Army, you now have your marching orders. The OtherGround is absolutely filled with fucking trolls. So if you guys cannot flood Twitter, well, you guys are kind of past your prime and you might need to fucking retire. So get on it now. Go.
What else you got?
I love you guys. This is great.
And number two, as always, fuck all y'all.
Everybody have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.
Take care, y'all.
Thanks, Serena.
That was awesome.
Screw you, hippie!
Oh, that's perfect.